Last weekend, I went to Brighton Beach. If you don't know, it's an area in Brooklyn where a lot of people from post-Soviet countries choose to live, or at least chose to live. I don't know, I think it formed in the late 20th century when a lot of people from the Soviet Union or Russian Soviet Union came to the United States to find a better life. Think of it as Chinatown, but like Soviet Union town. I highly recommend watching Anora if you haven't seen this movie. It's quite representative of what Brighton Beach is like. I think that some people might think that Brighton Beach is very similar to what Russia is these days, and while I don't really know because I haven't been to Russia in 3 years, I think that it's more like the Soviet Union. I don't really feel a sense of nostalgia for the Russia that I left when I go to Brighton Beach, but more so I feel homesick and I really miss my parents. Because I think that what is so unique about Brighton Beach is that it's like a time capsule where you can come and still feel the Soviet Union very much alive. By the way, I'm not romanticizing the Soviet Union. I'm just saying I miss my parents. Speaking of, I finished Isa's Ballad by Magda, and I will tell you that this was a specifically heartbreaking read for me because I haven't seen my parents in 3 years. As always, I'm fascinated by psychological depth of Magda Szabó's prose. She goes really deep into the minds and hearts of her characters. She knows them very well. The novel starts with Isa's dad dying and then follows the grief journeys of Isa, of her old mother, and also shows the way how their relationship has changed with this death. It is an exploration of a really important question of what to do with the old people. Can you really do anything? Should you be doing anything? It is exploring the question of how hard it is to stay alone, to stay by yourself when your partner is dying. It is a sad and heartbreaking read. I didn't cry, but I was just emotionally exhausted from reading it. I think that I definitely took it way too close. It made me think a lot of my family. It is my third Magda Szabó. I've read Abigail and the Fawn before, and I really loved those, but this one might be my favorite. It is translated by a different person, despite it's also an NYRB like those two, and I think that that's a testament to Magda Szabó's talent because the prose is just... I'm speechless. It leaves me speechless. With Magda Szabó, I always feel like I need more time to process. Her stories and characters, they stay in my head for a while. I want to tell you about 2 more books that I read recently that are touching on the parents and children topic. One is The Mirador by Élisabeth Gille. I read it 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3, but I still keep thinking about it almost every day. I think that I talked about Irène Némirovsky in my previous video, and I definitely posted short format videos about her books. She was born in Ukraine in a Jewish family, and when she was a teenager, like 15 or 16, the Soviet Revolution happened, and she and her family fled Russia and the Soviet Union, the Russian Empire, whatever you call it, that was a weird time, to Europe. And she lived in France, but then in 1942, because she was a Jew, she was detained in a concentration camp and died there. At that time, her daughter, Élisabeth Gille, was just 5 years old, and this book is an imagined autobiography of her mother. So it's written from the perspective of Irène Némirovsky by her daughter, who barely even knew her. And that is such an act of love. Just thinking about how much research she had to make about her mother, talk to some people who remembered her, go through the archives, to create this book that tells her story. I will say that it is also written very well. When I read about the days of Irène in Kiev, Ukraine, and then St. Petersburg, Russia, it is insane that Élisabeth was able to recreate this no longer existing world of the late Russian Empire so well. Clearly, she has never been there, but it is very vivid. It definitely reads like a real autobiography. This one made me miss Russia a lot and also think about how fragile our lives are. Philosophical mood today. The last book that I want to tell you about is Fathers and Sons by Turgenev. Russian school program is very different from American school program. Obviously, I've never gone to an American school, so I can only talk from what I know. However, in Russia, we've got this pretty unified list of books that children of school age are supposed to read while they're at school. And Fathers and Sons is a part of that compulsory school program. The main character of the book, Bazarov, is a nihilist, and I definitely remember us discussing what nihilism is, how older generation is conservative, how the new generation is always trying to prove the old generation wrong, how there's always this tension between parents and children because children are romantic and don't have the experience of the older generation that has already tried to change things, that has already lived through the phase of their lives where they were romantic and full of hope and wanted to change things. And I just don't think that this is the real central idea of the book. I think that what Turgenev was really trying to say is that no matter what you believe and how radical your opinions are, at the end of the day, what really matters is human relationships, family, parents, children, marriage, friends. And if someone like Bazarov, no matter whether he's a nihilist or not, just can't be happy in these relationships, can't build them and can't maintain them, he is doomed to be unhappy. Whereas Kirsanov's, especially Kirsanov the father, who is, when you think about it, a simple person, but he has everything, because he is capable of showing affection to people. For some reason, maybe because of the way we were taught Russian literature, as a teenager, I thought that Turgenev is really boring. Now I grew to appreciate his wisdom and unpretentiousness. He doesn't really demand anything from the reader. He's just telling an engaging story. And if you agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. In this way, he's very different from Dostoevsky or Tolstoy, who I think are a lot more popular in the English-speaking world. Unfairly. Read more Turgenev. It's really sunny and nice outside. I think that it's the first summer-like weekend in New York, so maybe I'll do something fun and film it for you. Before I wrap up, I wanted to say that I feel like I've been reading a lot of Russian and Eastern European literature this spring, but it's about to change because I'm going to Japan next weekend, and I definitely want to read a few Japanese titles from my TBR while I'm there. So if you have any great recommendations, let me know. I always forget how much I love talking about books with you. Thank you.